Welcome back to the Strategic Veteran. I'm your host, Adam Peters, and I want you to picture a guy who went from chasing applause on stage to getting smoked by kids half his age at basic. I might have been one of those. Rich Spalla lived most of his life for himself, running hard as a musician until easy mode finally felt empty. At 35, you really walked in the Army at 35?
Yes.
Oh my God. At 35, he walked in the Army trading bright lights for rough boots and learned that emotional intelligence, not just age or past, was what would keep him alive and respected. I had the privilege of serving alongside Rich back then, and even as a junior enlisted soldier, he carried himself with a maturity that you don't often see. He was always the first to raise his hand for the hard jobs, the guy you could count on to do what needed doing without complaint. And that stuck with me for over a decade. And this is the first conversation I've had with him in about 12 years. So this isn't bullshit. It's true. And it's why I'm ecstatic to have him here today, not just to reconnect after all these years, but because I know his story has weight. After combat, drugs, numbing out, and what felt like a complete reset on every front, Rich clawed his way through loneliness and a broken system, refusing to let the pain or the bureaucracy define his future. Now he leads with the mission of serving others, whether it's building a better rifle, mentoring teams, or being the kind of husband and dad he once doubted he could be. This one's for you if you've ever stared at the chaos and wondered if you could change the channel, or if you felt like a number on a clipboard instead of a human who matters. Rich, brother, welcome to the show, man. Really excited to have you. It's great to see your face after fucking 12 years, man.
Yeah, you too, man. This is awesome. I'm super happy you had me on, and I'm really excited to share what I can to help your listeners navigate through whatever they need navigating through.
Yeah, man, we got to unfuck the transition, dude. We don't have to live these shitty lives on the other side and fall all the way down to rock bottom. I just don't think it's necessary. So we'll just dive right in, man, because I know your story is really interesting. And where'd you grow up, and what inspired you to join the Army at 35 years old?
So I grew up in Niagara Falls, New York. Skated, normal childhood. My mom passed away when I was a little kid, so it wasn't necessarily normal childhood, but my dad did the best he could. He was a Vietnam vet. So I grew up around military pride and, esprit de corps in a way. He didn't talk about it a lot of the way a lot of Vietnam vet guys don't talk about it. I started playing guitar in my teens, and then I joined a band in the late 1998, a little rapcore band. But we changed our style and lineup and started getting some movement. The UFC actually commissioned us to write the theme song to the UFC. It's still the theme song to this day.
I know, dude. I've known you for a long time, and I didn't know that until I was prepping for this show. And I'm like, "Holy fuck! I know the guy who wrote that."
I co-wrote it, but man, when that word got out at basic training, and you can only imagine how fun that was. That was super fun, but I left the band. I think it was around 2008. Just the whole lifestyle being superficial. I wasn't an alcoholic. I didn't do a ton of drugs, but just the relationships I had, I was really self-centered. I didn't care about people. And what was funny is when I left that band, a lot of people just went on the other side, didn't like me anymore. And I had a couple of tight friends that stayed, and it made me realize they're not wrong, the people that left. I just didn't treat them well enough to stay. Mm-hmm. So I was just kind of floating around. I was doing music production, owned a couple of recording studios. I had a publishing company, was doing okay, but I was still really living for myself. And hindsight, I couldn't explain it then, but in hindsight, it was just this superficial lifestyle. It was hollow. And I wanted to do something that just kind of shook the pillars of, who I thought I was and what I thought I needed to do. So I joined the Army at 35 years old. Infantry.
What was that like at 35, man? Because I was medically retired. I mean, you served with me alongside ACO 123. We did the Afghanistan deployment together. We'll get to that in a little bit. Mm-hmm. You have a lot of insight as to who I was in a past life that a lot of people that listen to the show don't have. And I mean, look, dude, you came in after I was going on my fourth deployment. I had already been through a bunch of shit, had a bunch of surgeries, was kind of, like, I know how hard it was for me to keep up with the younger kids coming in, dude. And like, ultimately that's what put me out, is my own ego trying to be the leader that I wanted to continue to be. And dude, I'll just tell you, fucking Briar Daniels and his big mouth, who I still mentor to this day, and you'll be pleased to know just penned to E7, is, doing amazing things. But he challenged me to a pull-up contest shortly after I was released to go back after my first shoulder surgery. And that's ultimately what fucked me over and ended my career, as I ended up tearing it again because I just refused to be beat by these kids. You know what I mean? So physically at 35, man, because I'm 40 now, right? And like, I'm kind of in better shape than maybe I was even in the Army. But it was hard to keep up with them then. I couldn't imagine, adding another 5 years to my life and then going through basic training, coming in as a private, particularly in '08, right? Like the height of the surge. I'll be the first to admit that, like, as a leader, with a lot of combat experience at that time, I probably didn't treat junior enlisted folks the way that they deserve to be treated. But also I was a product of a system and kind of, I guess, just adopted what was the status quo or whatever. Not saying that it's right or wrong. It's just, it is what it is. And I'm man enough to admit that I probably didn't handle things the best. But I'm just curious, man, how was that for you?
So it was all or nothing, right? I sold my studio. I sold my car. I didn't have anywhere to live. I couldn't fail. There was going into basic training. It wasn't, let me see if I can do this. I gave myself no options but to do it.
So you just burned the bridges.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I cut all lifelines to the world. And once I got there, just at Benning, it was, other than the absolute nightmare of like the reception and the civilians that work in the system. We'll get to them later.
Yeah.
Most of them anyway. The realization that my problems are what's next. They're not these big bloated things that I have to deal with. I had a age and wisdom. I wasn't wise, but I had some experience to know, like, dude, you guys are crying over doing push-ups. I'm getting paid to do push-ups, right? I can't expect these, younger guys to think that way, because this sucks for them.
Mindset shift that comes with life experience, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, I'm getting paid right now to get stronger. I learned about discipline, but I almost watched it from outside my body. I watched myself get torn down, get built up. And the peers around me, the young kids around me, just losing their minds. They just didn't have the emotional intelligence yet. And drill sergeants knew that. And I found to be the guy in the middle for your success. Don't be the first guy. Don't be the last guy. Just be in the middle. It's basic training. Yeah. Accelerate when you can. And I made it through. I missed it. I did. I didn't miss the lack of freedom. I did miss the just seeing the change in myself, and it really wasn't that difficult. It was more about, I've lived out of a car at one point. Prior to this, I was, poor like many other people have been, but worrying about where my next meal was going to come from. How was I going to ever buy a house? How was I ever going to do anything in my life? I'm a loser. That's just a 34-year-old guy running around with a guitar, while people my age I went to high school with are building businesses. They're having families. They have people around them that really love them. I had to go change. So it was just, you're not going to fail. You're going to go and do it. And then I did. And it was.
And here we are.
Yeah.
I
remember getting to the unit, and my mindset was, okay, there might be a 22-year-old kid screaming at me, but that's okay, because he's been to war. He knows things I don't know. If I was going to give guitar lessons, he'd be listening. So it was super easy to kind of just fall in. There's an old man advantage in the Army too. People don't really talk about. People don't mess with the old guys that much. They just don't.
I think it goes back to like what I said. I mean, from the earliest I can recall of you being in ACO, you older guys just carry it's the life experience, it's the maturity, it's the emotional intelligence. Like your whole mindset going into basic training, like you said, I'm getting paid to do push-ups. That was definitely not my mindset as a senior staff sergeant. When we would get smoked, as a company, I'm like, this is
Yeah,
fucking stupid. Why the fuck am I doing
it was
push-ups right
still
now?
stupid.
I didn't have that mentality to frame it like, hey, I'm getting paid to do this right now. Like I could be getting paid to do a lot worse things. You know what I mean?
Sure,
So
sure.
so I think you're right. Like that is, and I wasn't actually an old man in the Army, so I can't speak to that old man advantage. But I could definitely, hindsight being 2020, see exactly what you're talking about, and I think that's amazing, man. Now, you described yourself as a selfish, narcissistic musician before joining the Army, and you just kind of laid out like you actually watched yourself change. And so how did that change go over basic training? Was it pretty immediate? Was it pretty gradual? And like, how did you let go of the narcissism and the being selfish and kind of joining the team fight? Particularly, I'm sure it wasn't always fun, as the older guy, because I'm sure I can see a scenario in which drill sergeants were like, you should know better and you should take more responsibility type thing, right? Like probably a little bit harder on you just from the simple fact that you are older with life experience or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Trying to think of what the question was.
How did you let go of the narcissism and the
Oh,
selfishness and become that team player?
man, I don't know. I think it was I'm a product of that system. And some systems do work. And the whole tearing down to build you up basic training Army's philosophy, I think works.
Yeah.
Um, especially to the extent of we're gonna, needs of the Army, right? So
Right.
you're at ground zero when you graduate basic training. This is all the Army needs. This is all they need from you, and the rest is going to get molded as you go. I don't remember a ton of like all this hindsight of out of body experience thinking and watching myself get humbled. I can tell you when I got my very first uniform with my first name tape, um, shit got real. It's like,
Yeah.
this is real. This is no longer a fantasy, because there was months of buildup too. It's like I wanted to, I'd listen to that goofy Army song with the instrumental and all these things. And I was working out and getting fit and running and biking. I sold my car and bought a bicycle, and I just got fit to go to basic training. And I was so pumped to be part of that and just wash my previous world away. And I got to admit, the Army definitely gives people a second chance at life, but it also breaks you in that chance. Like you're giving up something for it. And a lot of dudes give up their health, whether it's mental or physical or both.
Or yeah, all of it. Yeah, man.
All of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're headed that way. Man, you don't have to answer anything about this, but I think it's really relevant, particularly to as we move into your transition story and what you've done on the other side of the Army, and it's some incredible stuff that you've done. So we're not going to discount any of that, but July 7th, 2012 is a pretty rough day, huh?
Yep. Yep.
You were in first platoon with one of my very best friends on the planet, who I talk to pretty much on a weekly basis now. And just let's talk about July 7th, 2012. And it wasn't very long after that you would begin your ETS out of the Army and kind of start your transition process. And I actually speak from experience because I carried a lot from that deployment with me basically a year after you got out. And a lot of that affected how shitty my transition was as well. And so, talk about your perspective on July 7th. I was the TOC NCOIC, not that it didn't leave the wire and go out with you guys, but I think, the role I played there was completely different from the role you were playing there. And I think we both did our jobs at an exceptional level, but I want to hear kind of your take on that, how that affected you and how much of that you actually carried with you that would affect you in your transition.
So much happened that day, right? We had
It's a
we had
fucking worst day, man.
inside the wire, outside the wire. We had guys, amputees, and then we had Juan, and then we had Cody Kupenberg. Like everything went to hell. And the whole thing with that operation was, I remember sitting in Tower 4, right on pulling our our overnight watch and whatever. In the morning, I just see a shit ton of locals pulling out. They're leaving. And we're like, yo, this is not a good sign. Everyone's leaving. That means there's IEDs everywhere. That means, like, what are we going to do? We're going to push out, create white space they're gone. The locals are gone. Nobody knew. And that was the hardest part about most of these patrols, is that it's like, why are we doing this? It was disillusioning. Why are we doing this? And no one at our level, at the enlisted level, could ever get an explanation of why. And if you understand why you're doing something, or why someone's asking you to do something and gives you a little inside baseball, you buy in. That's how the regular world works. And you never got that. You always got to shut up and do it.
Yeah.
It's because we said so. And your battalion commander wouldn't come out to your outpost because it was too dangerous, but he's going to send you out into this world of explosives and go, good luck, fuckers. And you don't know why, to disrupt and defeat the Taliban. Cool. Neat.
Oh man, I've got so many stories I could tell you about that, because actually a lot of people don't know that, and this may be the first time I've publicly said this, but I was blamed by leadership for the events of that day, essentially, for a long time, actually, until the ball after we got back, and then I was actually apologized to. But we didn't have the blimp at that point, right? So
no, we didn't.
We got the blimp. I made some serious changes and really flipped the game for us. And I will sit here and toot my own horn on that and take credit for it, because I actually did develop a lot of SOPs that were then used further on after we were gone from other commands and everything else. But all I had was the raid tower and a fucking map board, and I was doing my best to support you guys. And I had actually reported to First Sergeant the commander that we saw that mass exodus happen that morning. And it was still like, well, I don't fucking care. We're still doing this 5-day operation. And I'm like, that's probably not a good idea. Right. Like, and then it was more questions about, well, what were they doing? And like, I'm like, motherfucker, I've got 100-foot raid tower. That's like, I can't see very much with it. Right. So like, I've got like this snapshot in time, and all I see is a mass exodus of women, children, some military age males, but not many. And it just completely leaving the AO. And it's like, they're going a complete direction that like doesn't even make sense. Right. And and like, I do my duty. And as talking to OIC, I let them know, and I'm basically blown off, and you guys are rolling out fucking couple hours later. Right.
Yeah. And there's no SOP change on, okay, now they're all gone. Anyone left? Go. Yeah. It's war. It was none of that. It was, we must do our KLEs and discuss with the key leader engagements. I'm like, dude, and guys, it costs a lot of lives that day. It costs limbs. It costs people's futures. And then it costs the things you wouldn't see. Right. So the guys with PTSD, the guys that are shaken to their core, the kids that have killed themselves since, the kids that have succumbed to drugs and alcohol from those days.
So many of them, man. So many of them to the drugs and alcohol, dude.
Crazy, man. And this is where that transition comes in, where it's a one size fits none. It's a check in the box, and it's in a career that people have just to have it. Yeah. Those those transition assistance program, it doesn't help. It didn't help anybody. There's very few people that it benefited from, unless you got a job with the TAP afterwards. It was just, you're in a room full of people that just want to get out of that room, sign the box, and go to their next of 55 appointments.
Yeah.
And it's just like these kids, it happened to me. I got home, I got to move to New Hampshire, and I was very excited. And I thought I checked all my boxes, and I never felt more alone in my life. And those little memorial bracelets from July 7th made my stomach turn. Yeah. And drugs and alcohol made it feel a little bit better, numbed it up a lot. But it was,
an escape.
That day, nobody would talk to you about that day. And even when we got back to Fort Lewis, and they're erecting mental health across the way, there's that weird thing. Now, we'll talk about it real quick. I heard you speak about it in another podcast where there may have been in the past, it's prevailing. If you go to mental health, your career is over. At that
100%.
time, that was not the deal when I was in. When I was in,
Correct.
that had changed. So there's always forces of change are good sometimes, obviously. And that mentality changed. I remember I had my squad. We're standing outside hanging out, and I was talking to the guys. Hey man, let's go talk to somebody. Cross the way. Go ahead. No, I ain't no pussy. It's like, I know you're not a pussy. Go talk to somebody though. Because here's two things. Number one, just talking to somebody is going to help you just deal with stuff. Number two, it's going to set you up for when you get out of the Army. You need a record. Start talking to people. Go get your life set up, because when you get out and you're getting your 10% VA and it gets taken away after 5 years because there's no record of any of the shit you went through, go talk to somebody. Build your case. And dudes just never got it. And I'll never forget, I was talking to a buddy, one of the guys that was in 4th platoon, and he was like, I said, hey man, you miss Afghanistan? He's like, oh yeah, dude. I'm like, go talk to somebody. You should not miss Afghanistan. Like, I understand, you shouldn't miss it. You should be like, shudder to think if you have to go back. Go talk. And they just wouldn't go.
And I do want to, I want to speak to that and address what you just said, because you're absolutely right. I mean, so from the time I came in to the time you're talking about behavioral health and that stigma, there's almost a decade there that had passed, right? So I'm holding on to my own thoughts and beliefs of what I saw as a young private coming up, and Rich is absolutely right. I cannot say that he's not right, because when we came back from Afghanistan, they set up the behavioral health trailer right outside the company. It was right outside the company. Literally walk out of the company, maybe 50 yards up the ramp, and you're in the door to behavioral health. Like that's so it definitely did change, but I think out of that, you would be the one to ask this, because I think you probably saw it a lot better than I did. Probably guys like me who had a little bit more time were the guys who were most reluctant to go. You didn't see a lot of us walking in there because we were carrying that mentality, right? Like, am I misremembering? Because I don't want to put out false information out there. Like, I'm genuinely trying to. I mean, dude, I've been out a decade at this point. Like, it's wild to me that nothing has really changed, and that I have, built this brand and am truly helping people, not make the same mistakes that you and I might have made. But I also don't want to put out wrong information either. You know what I mean?
Yeah. None of the older dudes gave anyone shit. That was the big thing, right? Even if you guys didn't go into that trailer, you never gave anyone a hard time for doing it. Because to me, I watched a lot of the guys get DUIs, piss hot for drugs, normal stuff, but way more tempo when we got back.
Oh, it was bad.
Lot more. They're dealing with stuff.
We ended up chaptering like 30 dudes.
Yeah, I was on my way out, I was the squad leader of all the guys getting chaptered.
Yeah, there's a whole fucking
6 months,
a whole squad of dudes.
It's crazy, man. And you're driving these guys around, and I treated people with respect, man. I never liked being a little older. Like, I got 5 new privates one time, and they're lined up, nervous, scared, and this was after we'd come back. So I'm asking them questions, typical Army shit. And I remember dudes are just losing. They're nervous. They're ready to get their balls smoked off. And one of the guys, I can't remember exactly what the questions were, but he's like, keeps looking at his shoulder. I'm like, what are you looking at? He's like, well, my notepad's in there, Sergeant. I'm like, then fucking get your notepad. You don't need to memorize this stuff, guys. Get your notepad out. Tell me, write it if you've written it down. So I used to tell them, all right, you're not getting smoked. You're going to get smoked throughout your entire Army career. What you're going to do is tomorrow you're going to come back and teach us all something. Teach us something you know from home. Teach us something you learned in the Army. I don't care. You're teaching people stuff, and dudes would come back, and I learned how to actually hem somebody up without how to wrap somebody around a tree without rope, without cuffs, without zip ties, to tie them down. Just little things like that. These guys would come back with that, and they're more motivated, and you're working with their minds. A lot of the older guys that had the Afghanistan experience didn't want nothing to do with the newer guys, and they were dealing with their own shit. And you're like, man, go get your brains worked on, talk to somebody, because you got to mentor these dudes.
Yeah.
And that's where the Army failed big time. They never The word leadership is in the rank and time and service. It has nothing to do with the skill set. Most of the time I was a team leader as E2. So I guess
rough times out there, man. God, rough time. We couldn't do we didn't even have a single full platoon when we went to Afghanistan.
No.
Every fucking, like, it was rough back then, man. But you're right, man. And look, dude, I wish that I could put my finger on why some of us old guys, because I was that way too, man. I'd seen, coming back, that was my 4th deployment, right? Which is not, I mean, that's a lot. Like, you hear dudes that got 20 deployments, but they were also like 3 months at a time, right? I did fucking 4 year-plus long 15, deployments, right? So being the logical guy that I've always been, I saw the writing on the wall after the Afghanistan deployment. And it's like, man, I am not going to make an effective garrison fucking non-commissioned officer. It's not going to happen. My whole career, every other year, has been deployment after deployment. Like, you want to go to war? I got you. Let's go to war. We'll do this real fucking well. And I think for a lot of older guys, that was the thing. We kind of all saw that. So we're now kind of shitting in our own pants. Like, fuck, man. Like, what does this all look like? Like, because leadership in combat and leadership in garrison are 2 completely different things. Way different things. So
I watched you and Brian Welch. Like, you guys were, this wasn't your first rodeo. It was mine. But you guys had a, easing calm, but it was a presence about you, because you knew what to do. Obviously, every experience is different. No 2 deployments are ever going to be the same for you, but you guys were able to keep people together. And a lot of those dudes, an awful lot of the guys in ACO, they went to Iraq, but saw no combat. And so in garrison, after that Iraq deployment, excuse me, dudes were talking shit. They were tough. They were messing with the cherries. Then everybody gets to Afghanistan and they're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
I remember getting pinned my CIB with a whole bunch of E5s. Excuse me, that were on deployment before. I'm like, oh, who's talking shit now? Yeah. But it was, you guys that had some experience, but it was more of a rock thing. I'll never forget. You'd come up to me one day and you were like, hey, I got a secret for you. I was like, what? You went, corporal. So I was getting promoted to corporal from specialist, and it was like, that's cool, man. I was fired up. Didn't happen because of whatever the rules were in the field at that time, but I was all fired up. You were easy to talk to. You were approachable, but yet there was no fucking around, right? Like,
there's a line, and you knew where the line was, right?
Yeah. And Welch was like that too. I always respected him in the same way, where it's like, dude, I could learn something from these guys. He's got all 4 limbs. I could learn something from that dude, and you guys are always approachable. You were the right kind of NCOs. Leadership isn't always just delegating. Sometimes leadership's listening. Sometimes leadership's teaching people how to follow. That's been my big bone with this whole leadership movement. The last decade, every single influential or influencer person, and it's not a dig on them, they know how to do it, but leadership this, leadership that. There's only so many leaders in the world, whether it's a corporate world or the military world. People need to learn how to be fucking followers, man, because there's 5 stages I came up with of toxic subordination, right? It's just, number 1, you first join you get on a job and you're happy to be on the team, you're enthusiastic. Stage 2 is you start talking to the bitter employees. You're like, yeah, I hear you, but I'm an agent for change. Step 3, you're the bitter employee. You're agreeing with them. You're like, yeah, this place sucks. It'd be better if we did this and this and this. Then if there's you get to stage 4 where you split it. Let's say you get into a leadership position. You can be an agent for change now, but I'm not putting holes in my boat. I'll just keep going with the system. Why am I going to sink my own ship? It's too hard. Or reality kicks in and I can't do anything from this position. Or you get fired. And then the other thing is, or you just accept your fate and go, okay, here I am. Maybe I don't get, people don't know how to learn, be followers these days. And there's a big hole there, man. People need to learn how to follow with enthusiasm and navigate. And that's where the whole navigation through the Army and navigation through the corporate world, it's where I've been able to succeed, because it's like, I see the game. I observe it a little differently, man.
Dude,
When I
I
was,
love this so much because I think just looking at the position I've created for myself at this point, it's like I do lead. I still lead, but I follow a lot of people. In fact, I was in Tampa this weekend because I was invited by my mentor, and people are asking me like, "How did you find out about this?" or whatever. It's like Adam texted me and said, "This event's happening. My ticket's paid for. I want you there." And I do anything that guy says, anything he says, because every time I've done something he's told me to do, something positive changes in my life. I learn something. I make more connections. Something moves forward. And one of the three companies that I'm building or whatever, it's like, I love what you're saying about that because I also know how to follow. I don't know how to just lead. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, it's important. I I found in the Army, right, trying to being a young private or an old private, going to what we called it Waller Hall. Other posts have different names for it, but it's where you get all your admin shit done. So I would go to this meeting, or I'd go to get my cat card updated, and I get kicked from one desk to another desk to another desk, and people are wasting my time. When I started seeing someone with stripes or bars or officers, boom, they're getting handled at right there at that desk. Okay, cool. Now here we go. So I'd go, and now I'd start threatening them with Congress. Like, hey, listen, I'm at the end of my rope. You're wasting a lot of my day. I'm going to call my congressman. And if I heard, well, we're going to call your first sergeant, I'm like, please do. That
Yeah.
dude's got my six because he knows who I am. I would flex that, and boom, all of a sudden stuff starts getting done. Wow, how funny is that? At the desk I was originally at. So I really got sick of getting pushed around. Started to learn how to just kind of, all right, these people don't care about you. They're former enlisted support soldiers that are just going to flex their rank on you. And every single time you'd go to a ETS meeting, 15 minutes, they're talking about themselves, and they got to slide in. Well, my Silver Star wasn't on my DD 214, so make sure that your DD 214 is correct because my Silver Star. It's like,
God, I hate that shit so
God,
much.
right? It just
Dude, it's
mind
awful.
bogs.
It's
All I wanted the
awful.
details of how do I do this thing.
Right.
And you can threaten me all you want with calling my leadership. The cool thing is, those dudes know me. They
Yeah.
know me. They're not gonna be like, I can't believe you yelled at a civilian at Waller Hall. They'd be like, scumbag, what'd they do? Because they're messing with this guy who never gets
Yeah.
in trouble, you know. But then you navigate into the corporate world or into the civilian world, and you realize those people are the same. And it's not that they're not bad people, man. They're just a product of the system that they live in. And you got to figure out how to deal with them. They're not in a rush to get anything done. They're going to do the bare minimum most of the time. And they're, even if it is their job, they're not trying to do it.
Yeah. I chalk this
So
up to, I talk about this a lot. I chalk this up to, I know where your stance is on leadership and all of that, but I think coming out of the military, regardless of kind of your stance on it, it's a true statement that our level of leadership is far and above most people in the civilian world. And
yeah,
so where I see us getting in trouble is, and this is just through hundreds of conversations with guys like you and I, is we go into these rooms and mediocrity is the standard. We don't come from a world where mediocrity is the standard. And I think that's kind of what you're speaking to right
yes,
now. Is that, you know what I'm
100%.
saying? Yeah.
100%. I had, and there's that human element. I had he was a boss, he was a good friend, but he was afraid of training up his team. Basically, he wanted to do all the stuff, the jobs that we were capable of doing, because he didn't want to get the thunder stolen. And I pulled him aside and I was like, brother, no manager's ever been fired for having an effective team. You get advanced, you get elevated, and then we do your job. Like it's the platoon sergeant doing the first sergeant's job. Like
Right.
that, he kind of got onto it, and it wasn't just from me, but you see a lot of that. People are afraid to get their thunder stolen or get their their status getting bumped. And I had a real hard time. It took years, man. It took years. I got out and I started going to college, and I was a one-man show. So I could go to college. I was getting BAH. I was getting a little bit of VA. And I didn't have to worry about all these other people. It was just
Yeah.
my own I was responsible for me. Then I started working for a firearms company, Sig Sauer, and it was great because there's a whole bunch of enlisted dudes, and I'm in the same world. We're just we just don't have to
Yeah.
formation, no
Yeah.
formation.
Shout out to the 365X macro that I carry every day.
I heard about that. Yeah, we got to chat. Where in Florida do you live? Do you mind telling?
I'm in Palm Bay,
Okay, that's awesome.
Space
So
Coast. Yeah.
I was working down in West Palm for the last
Nice.
since March to June. I was driving down there. I live in South Carolina now, and so from New Hampshire to West Palm and everywhere in between. I work in Virginia. And I live in South Carolina.
Where are you at in South Carolina?
I'm in Columbia area for now.
Dude, I left Columbia. I hated living. I was there for 18 months and I hate that area. I'll never set foot in Palmetto State Armory again. They're the most unknowledgeable, terrible fucking human beings on the planet.
I hate it here, dude.
The fishing part of Palmetto is pretty cool. They're like really down to earth people, but the gun store part, like I'll never buy anything Palmetto State ever again.
Well, living in New Hampshire for a number of years, like right after I got out of the Army, go to New Hampshire, working for SIG. The things I learned about firearms, how they work, all that stuff. Then I left for an opportunity in 2023 to work for FN. So I came down here to Columbia to work for FN, and that was a trash company, like absolute trash company. I went from a gun company that was a business run by gun people to a gun business run by businessmen. And it was so anti-customer, just money. And they sucked. They were terrible. And just, you got the vice president of product management calling the magazine a clip, all the things. You're like, dude, you guys not know what we do here? Then I started working for Canik down in South Florida, who are awesome, incredible. And now I work, I consult with them. I work for a company called Revelist that owns Black Hawk holsters, Stone Glacier, Camelback, and Eagle Industries. A lot of this equipment we carried out in Afghanistan. And I work on a brand management, category management side for them. And then a stand-up company for a suppressor company we started out of North Carolina called Zero Drag. And then Gray Fox Consulting, which is mostly right now cybersecurity. But we're kind of gearing that towards us. It was really cool listening to the dude from I-68. So we're looking at training for families and preparedness, not necessarily tactical training, just situational awareness games, just like mom's frazzled trying to get out the door, locks her keys inside or forgets something. It's like, slow it down, pay attention to what you're doing, go through a little checklist. The 2 seconds you save at the door saves you 2 minutes trying to run back in.
I love this, man. I love where you're going with all this, just like with Mark and I-68 and him really bringing this to women to kind of open up the perspective of like, very much my mindset is better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. I don't think you need to go through fucking all the levels of tactical training that so many of these Navy SEAL guys are doing when you get out. Like, I in South Carolina, when I lived there to get my CPO, which I still have, you have to go through, it's like a weekend course, a really good course that they put on. And I think like stuff like that is where we need to be focusing on comfort of being around a firearm and just learning the basic mechanics of it and feeling comfortable and getting to carry that. And then, like you said, situational awareness games, like, man, that's so important. Huge. So important.
I worked for 6 Hour Academy. So it was a firearms academy. So I was an adjunct up there outside the product side of things. And I would travel all over the world and help win tenders and contracts and then do follow-on training with the units. When I came to the commercial side and just started doing commercial products like the Cross, the bolt action rifle, and working on that end, I went adjunct at the academy. So my weekends and nights, I would just teach civilians, and it was incredible, man. I absolutely loved it. And I got really drained into it big time. I started to look at other things. There was a shooting in Buffalo, New York, in my hometown. Dude walked out of his car, just started icing people. And I'm watching the video. It's horrific, but I'm watching this video, trying to analyze it. And it's like, nobody's doing anything wrong. Nothing's out of place. People pull up in front of a grocery store all the time. Nothing weird. He gets out and just starts sending people to Hades. And no one's on their phone. no one did anything wrong. I was like, shit, dude, we got to change how we're teaching stuff. So my boss at the academy was like, write it up. I'm like, fuck, you're supposed to write it up, man.
Right.
I'm the idea guy.
I got the idea fairy up here, but now, you want me to put pen to paper? Oof, we're going to have a problem there.
Because you can't have people walking out of the store checking 5s and 25s. And,
right.
It's ridiculous. So it was more of a subtle thing where, eyes up, where women are parking their cars is one kind of thing that came out of it. People tend to never park near the cart corral. They don't want their cars hit by a cart because that's what happens. People don't know how to put the cart in the corral and just bang into your car all day.
Oh God,
that's where you should
get me started on the cart corrals. But dude, fucking people take the 10 extra fucking steps to put the cart away. Stop leaving it. God.
I know those are the worst people on the planet that don't put their cart away. But
I can't.
The cart corral is where you should park. There's a light above it. There's unpredictable traffic, human traffic throughout there. Something's going to happen. You have witnesses. You have good witnesses. You have eyes on. When you park in the back of the parking lot, that's where you're going to get jacked. That's where statistically those things happen. It's like sharing this kind of stuff with women and people. It's been great. So with the Gray Fox, we're working on a lot of that stuff, but a lot of the more cybersecurity things. Up here, I was trained a Secret Service, South Carolina field branch. Think that's all the right words. A lot of handgun stuff. So I'm still deeply into the training. But there's a lot I'm juggling with my office in Virginia, the company down in South Florida. We're moving back to New Hampshire. Keeping our house here in South Carolina, all sorts of stuff's going on, man. So
I love hearing this from you, man, because, I originally started this podcast. My idea behind this was a couple-fold. I got sick of all of our buddies offing themselves. Obviously, that's not a secret to anybody that listens to the show. I probably say it way too much. And I really got sick of the Facebook groups and all of our other buddies like, oh, man, we need to do something, but nobody gets off their ass to change the suicide epidemic or make a difference. So, through some processes or whatever, I landed on, start this podcast, and kind of my idea was the path back to purpose for us. Cause that's a big thing, identity and purpose, maybe identity, not so much for somebody like you who was 35 when you joined and had life experience to build an identity, but somebody for sure like me, 17 to 30 years old, just infantry, war.
That's all you knew.
It's all I knew. When did I have a chance to develop any kind of identity before? The pushback I get on that from other, our other brothers and sisters is like, well, you should have taken advantage of the opportunities to better yourself while you were in the Army. And I'm like, well, Rich, when did I have a chance to do that? Like,
you
right? Like
when you're on CQ, right?
Yeah, right. But you are also a corporate guy, but you're also, from the sounds of it, you've started your own companies and you're leaning into the entrepreneur life. And man, the entrepreneur life, it's such a better life, dude.
Oh, yeah.
And I say that coming from a place where I've really been at this full time, balls to the wall for just about 2 years now. And I didn't make a single dime until last month. And obviously I make no money on veteran advocacy. This podcast, hopefully someday will get sponsors and I'll make a little bit of cash. As far as just trying to be the guy that I didn't have, you didn't have when you got out, I don't ever want to make money off of that. I just want to help. The AI company is what's bringing money, but I've been happier than I've ever been in my entire life over those 2 years. Are you finding the same thing for yourself? Even though you're juggling all this stuff, I find that, like, man, I juggle three companies between plant medicine, this personal brand, the AI company, all the client work I have to do, some big changes going on in my personal life right now, which I will discuss, when the time is right or whatever. But I just feel better. And it's like, it's me. It's like what I'm supposed to be doing. Are you finding the same thing for yourself?
Yes. So last August, I was laid off from FN. The company was just doing terribly financially. And I was first time in my life without a job. Well, first time since the Army without a job, without a purpose. I was applying everywhere and hoping somebody would give me a chance. And then it kind of happened where it's like, no one's giving you a chance. You're over here talking about all these things to all these people about no one's coming to get us. You're on your own, make your own world. Well, then go do it. And the second I started to do that, opportunities were all over the place. And now I'm spinning plates trying to manage, being a dad and being a husband. And what's really funny is that it's a lot easier. The busier I got, the more I was able to focus in and start managing my time for quality.
Isn't it wild how that works?
It's weird, man.
It's
weird.
Wild, man.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where I'm not looking into it and just going with it because I don't want to try to understand the pseudoscience of quantum living. I'm good, man. Yeah. Things are working out. But it was a long road. A lot of drugs. The VA was no help with all that. That's one thing I'd love to just chat about real quick. I went to the VA. When I got out, I got a high percentage pretty quick. And I said, it's not enough. F you, I want it all. Give me all the money. And I treated the VA like it was a part-time job. I'd make appointments, I would go. These are things that were happening. I wasn't making things up. I remember sitting in a prescriber's office and he's talking to me, and I was on Wellbutrin, Prozac.
Not good.
Something else. I was on all sorts of shit.
You were on the cocktail.
Correct. And I was driving to work one day, and we've all zoned out, right? You always zone out here and there. This was different. This was, I kind of woke up on my way to work at this town an hour from my house. On the way, I'm just like, when did I leave?
Yeah.
What happened? I got to get off these drugs. It was just like, holy shit. Did I kill someone on the way? Like, I went into a straight program and didn't realize what happened. So I started weaning myself off. My wife bought me a bunch of blank pills, and I bought a scale, and I started weaning myself off because when I asked the VA, when I said, hey, I'd like to build a program to get off these drugs, he says, well, how do you feel? I'm like, I feel great. Could you feel better? I was like, you fuckers, man. You're killing us. You're killing these guys.
Trying to keep you. Well, and I've talked about this as well. Pills were never a route for me. I fell into the plant medicine space, and I thank God every day that I did that. And it's why I partnered with Retreat, and why I'm so adamant that folks like you and me go have that experience, because it's life changing. It's way better than the pills, but also because your platoon sergeant, Petey, I had to find him hanging from his fucking apartment balcony because of those pills. And we know it's like average like 7 or 8 years and like 40 different combinations of pills to finally level somebody out. I didn't do that process, so I'm sure you probably way more knowledge on that than I do, but you realized it pretty early. I'm so glad that you did, and I'm glad you're here to speak to that is how they treated you. It was like, well, could you feel better? They just want to keep prescribing pills. You're not the first person that's told me that. You are the first person on the show that publicly said that. But I've had behind the scenes, closed doors meetings with people who are medical doctors who have left the profession because that is kind of the unwritten rule, is like, keep writing prescriptions.
Yeah. And that was just, that was the experience on that. And it scared me. I was like, dude, I'm never going to get better. I got to go get better somehow. And that's when it turned into, it took about a year for the cloudiness to go away. And it took about a year for me to not be manic, because I was numb, dude. I was just this, even I see a puppy get run over by a car, no emotion. All right. Didn't care. Then about a year later, after getting off everything, there was ups and downs emotionally. I'd get very, very angry, but I was like, hey, I feel that. Yeah.
Cool. Right. It's better than being numb.
Right. I couldn't believe it. And my wife was like, yo, you're pretty manic. I'm like, sorry, but thank God.
Right.
Thank God, and that's really what happened. And then I started going in down the fitness route and the jujitsu route. And I find that causing pain is healing too. Like, and I'm not trying to hurt myself, but the workout pain, the jujitsu pain, the pain of reality, and tying that into, I wear these memorial bracelets. Am I living my life how these guys they didn't get to? So I'm cool. I can just go be a sad sack of shit. No. So I wear them and I replace them almost every year on the anniversaries, but it's a daily reminder. Like, nope. Stop bitching. Stop being sad. Go find something to do. There's every addiction out there is ready to harness us in, whether it's porn addiction, drug addiction. And I've teetered on all of it. And it was It was just a stop giving into these things and start giving up your vices for these guys,
Yeah.
these kids. As an older guy, that's what sucked about it for me is why did I get to live?
Yeah.
I lived a life. These kids didn't get to live a life.
Dude, and
So
that's
go
the
live
thing
it.
nobody talks about is moral injury, man. It's the biggest problem that plagues us, and nobody wants to
Yep.
address it because the fail-safe fix to that is spirituality and God, and a big part of that, and nobody wants to talk about that.
So I'm glad you brought it up. So I converted. I didn't convert. I was standing outside my house one day and I got hit with something and I couldn't tell what it was, but I knew what it was. And it was the Holy Spirit for me. And I was 1 foot in on Christianity. I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like bullshit. No, you don't get to, I don't believe in this stuff. Um, and then I believe in it and it's changed my life. I don't feel qualified to preach to people. I don't feel qualified to share like you're living your life wrong. I'm still working on Rich, but you know, when I started looking at Christ as a commander and not the hippie that he's been pointed out to be, it was like, okay, I'm living my life fallen and in sin, but I'm going to live it right as I can, as Christ-like as I can. So that's really helped me an awful lot. And you know, I read the Bible. Good. Yeah, I didn't understand it, and now it's starting to. Now that I'm reading it more, it's becoming English to me now. But I started to view Jesus as a commander. Um,
Well, and
and
this is a perfect tie-in back to what we talked about earlier. You got to learn to be a follower.
yes, and that's what made it easy for me to was like, okay, I need a commander, I need authority, I need structure. I'm following this man, God, and this is so hard because I want to go live for me. I want to go fix myself, and it was kind of cool to give up some of the things. I like to think of my progress on me as my own. Mm, maybe it was, but now it's not. Now it's every step forward is because I kind of give it over to God a lot. When I was unemployed, I had to go solve my problem. I got to figure this out. I need to solve the problem. No one's giving me a chance. And then I kind of stopped. I'm all over the place. I was doing this shit called cold plunging. And that was to me, my wife bought me a cold plunge. I got it down in South Carolina. It was tough to get really cold, but I started at like 50 to 55, 60 degrees. And that was really cold. But I found myself praying when I was in there.
Yeah.
And when I get out in the morning, I get out and my body felt like an energy drink. And so every morning I just started giving these things to God while I'm sitting there freezing. And I got the water was getting down into the high 30s. And I just get in there for 5 minutes and I would just breathe and pray and get up and get out. And things started to happen.
Yeah. It's wild, isn't it, man? It's just, it's
Truly
like,
is.
you know, people are fascinated by my story or whatever as I continue to grow here. And I think my story is pretty boring. I can't see a world in which I didn't get here by myself. Like I made some changes. I started, you know, doing the thing that you did, right? Like, and it's a journey. The spiritual thing is a journey. You know, 2 years ago when I had my first ayahuasca experience, that's when, you know, I really, like, it was really pointed out to me, like, fucking God is real. And I don't give a shit if you want to believe in him or not, you're going to from this point forward. And then it's kind of, you know, doing the same thing that you're doing, not so much 1 foot in, 1 foot out, but just kind of like making peace with coming to God and Jesus and all of that. But then like when you fully accept and you start making changes in your life, like I bought this really thick ESV study Bible that breaks things down so I like can understand it, and started read for like an hour every day. And nothing set in stone or whatever. Like I just try to read a chapter in a gospel every day. And
Yeah.
I've never read it cover to cover or whatever, but when I started doing that and started implementing that in my life, I can see everything with the personal brand, with the plant medicine retreat, with the AI company start to kind of, like you said, create opportunity. And it just like your path is revealed to you even.
Yeah. It's funny how you didn't pick it. God picked
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
God's picked us. And that's I don't feel like a special person because of it, but I feel like now I'm not doing my part because I'm not sharing it with people.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the next big phase is just, you got to go share it. You got to
Well, and
go live your.
it's like you said too. Like, I don't feel qualified to preach to anybody, nor do I have a desire to preach to anybody. Like, you do have free will, so you're going to. I mean, your journey is your own. You're going to come to that whenever you come to that, if you come to that.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, I don't know. At least for me, sometimes it's a little uncomfortable to talk about it because it's like,
100%.
you know what I mean? Like,
took us 50 minutes to get here, and I should have been the first thing I said to you.
right. And that's just it. But also, a good friend of mine that I met through here, one of the first podcast guest appearances I got to have was Matthew Banco. And he talked about we have a MEPS to get in. There's also, there needs to be a MEPS to get out. And it stands for 5 things: mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and physical. Right. So you have these 5 areas that you need to work on. The biggest one is the spiritual one, and I think the second biggest one is the fitness and physical. And you've touched on both of those. I did the same thing, man. And you wouldn't believe this, but dude, I'll show you a picture. I'll text you later.
I remember you talking about it.
321 pounds
Ooh.
is how heavy I got. I weighed in this morning at 213 pounds. So,
man. Yes.
Exactly. And when I, through the spirituality path and the belief in God and Jesus, and then implementing fitness into my life, the other 3 categories have worked themselves out.
Crazy, right? I remember hearing you guys talk about that. So I'm on the road a ton, driving from Virginia to South Carolina and so on and so forth. And I was prepping for this discussion, which hilarious, because what are you prepping for? It was 2 dudes talking.
Yeah, that's just it, man.
But I had I remember MEPS. I forgot about it till you just brought it back up, and I was like, I remember saying, that's a dope philosophy. That is perfect.
Yeah.
Because everyone remembers MEPS that was in, and it's like, yeah, you're right. And the spiritual, it's weird. It's almost uncomfortable to talk about, because I think people knew us, right? All these people knew you from here to here, and you're a hypocrite. You didn't live like that. You're a scumbag. Now you're going to be holier than thou. And it's like, nah, man, I'm not like that. I'm not like that. I'm just a soldier for God, dude. Just take it easy.
It's not like that at all. It's I'm man enough to admit that, and I tell people this openly, like, yeah, I was pretty agnostic. I'm like, the shit that I've seen, the places that I've been, the atrocities that I've committed against our fellow man, it's like, it's really hard to really kind of find some kind of belief or whatever in that. And I'm man enough to admit that to you. No, I have not always lived my life that way.
Correct.
And I'm not sitting here preaching to you, telling you that I'm perfect either, because God knows that I still make plenty of fucking mistakes like that. The point is like, you need to accept this into your life, because I'm telling you from my own experience, you're hearing Rich tell you from his own experience, that when you do that, your life gets exponentially better.
Quick too, man. Quick. And then you realize the thing that got me, it took me so long to really just go both feet in. I got baptized in 2023, but this all occurred, this transition occurred in 2018. But it was I was scared because of the work I'd have to do. I was deathly afraid of, I don't want to change like that. And I could sneak off and look at, porn on my own. I can sneak off and do these things. And it's like, man, you're still watching me, aren't you? I got to fix this. And it was really hard to let those things go. And the minute I did, just blew my mind how like these opportunities come. And I still slack. I'll watch a YouTube video instead of read a chapter, a verse. Right. And it's like, then I feel a little guilty about it, catch up. And
I think the real point is, though, is you're taught you're supposed to have grace with yourself, and that we're not perfect beings, nor are we ever going to be perfect beings. So it's like, okay, you've identified, like, maybe I should go read a verse and not watch that YouTube video. But also, like, if I don't read that verse and I watch that YouTube video, like, I'm an imperfect being, and I'm not, like, it's man, it's interesting, and it's definitely, I really want people to start considering this a lot, because my life changed a lot. Yeah.
Well, piggybacking off that, the most valuable possession any of us owns is our own guilt and sin. It's our own guilt, right? That's the most thing we cherish the most, and we hold it to ourselves, and it's hard to let go of that And, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it was
No,
just
you're
made me
good,
think of
man.
like, you hold on to that stuff so tight and it's hard to let go, especially because you've been a masculine, commanding person, to give that up and
Yeah.
to desire peace and love. But you're supposed to be this warrior, this protector of others, and it's trying to rectify all that. Once you realize, like, nah, man, that Jesus is the commander, you're good. There's nothing more powerful than a masculine Christian man.
Well, and
That's
I would argue that adopting that makes you better at the other things that we were. Makes us more
yeah,
dangerous, more
yes,
violent, more
yes,
more capable. And uh, I don't definitely don't walk around the way that we used to before finding God and all of that, like, with a chip on my shoulder. I know I'm a dangerous man or whatever, but like, there's this element inside. I know I'm way more dangerous. It takes a lot more to be peaceful and loving to other
yeah,
people and genuinely want to help our
agreed.
fellow man. Like, my whole goal in life now, people ask me this all the time, what is your legacy going to be? And I was like, I just want people to remember me as just trying to be a better human to other humans. That's it. That's all I want out of any of this. I just want to be a better human and try and make up for all the shit that, because I'm not naive to the fact that the way I lived my life before, I interacted with people. Those interactions with people sent them on a completely different path because of the way that I treated them. You know what I mean? And like, so I want
Amen.
to affect positive change this time. When I interact with people, I want the interaction to be pleasant. I want you to walk away from that, and I want you to just take the next step forward in your journey. I don't want you to, take the fork in the road or get spiraled out because I was a terrible human being and you had a shitty interaction with me.
Sure, right. That's some self-awareness. That's hard to do on a daily basis with all the interactions you have just at the store.
Yeah, it's
Now,
so hard.
yeah, somebody, dude. There's the grocery cart game,
I
right?
do. Yeah.
Okay. I used to get so pissed off because I thought it would be funny and I'm laughing, right? I'd laugh at the person like, oh, we're dancing. And they're just, and they go on about their day, especially in Seattle area, man. People were so rude and you just want to clothesline them. And now it's just more of a, I let it roll off my back a whole lot easier these days. And all right, you got a smile from me. You don't need to get the daggers this time, but yeah, my daily interactions have gotten a lot better with people around me. Even when it's not reciprocal, when it used to just enrage me, I still get mad. I still contain it down, but I got channels, man. I can do a quick prayer or I can go lift some weights.
Yeah, that's
Something
it.
like that.
That's it. Man,
But
Rich, dude, since you've been out, you've got 2 master's degrees. You've produced the 6 Hour podcast. You've coached the 2022 Hunter Games. You're an advocate for hunting therapy. You're training jujitsu. How, to close this out before I take up any more of your time, which I'm very grateful for, what do you want people to listen to this and take away from our conversation that can help them get to where you and I have gotten to and avoid a lot of the mistakes that we made, right? Like that's 2 master's degrees, producing the 6 Hour podcast, the hunter games, hunting therapy, jiu-jitsu, all the things you're doing with your suppressor company, all the firearms training that you're doing, all of this stuff. It's a lot, man. And people, and I know this for a fact, people look at me and they're like, you're doing so much, I could never do that. And it's like, man, yeah, you have no idea what you're capable of. Like, what do you want people to take away from this so that they can start moving in the direction that you and I have moved in and eventually get to a place where, they're just creating endless opportunity for themselves.
so, right. If you listen to that list, it almost seems like we'd say, oh, get busy, stay busy. And that's not necessarily true. My success in the Army was, this might sound, some like cheesy, but it was to do something bigger than me, right? To be a part of something that was bigger than me. What's my identity? And that's really what it is. I would say go find your identity. What do you identify with? Did you identify as being a soldier? Then go help soldiers. Get back in that somehow, get in there. There's military bases all over the country that hire people. Get involved. Or there's veteran organizations. Right now, my identity is a dad. I have a 4-year-old daughter who I'm 51 years old, man. That was like, I started a little late, but I have to be fit. I have to be strong. I have to be able to run around with her. And I don't want to be the dad that goes to her junior high school that is crippled, is broken. I want to be the envy of all the dads around that are like, damn, dude's 55, 56 years old. Look at this guy.
Be
And I
the
want to
inspiration
be,
for them to
I
get in
want to,
shape and you know,
for,
like,
for real, man, for real.
well, because dude, I
And that,
walk around at 40 years old and I look at other 40-year-old dudes and I'm like, holy shit, like I'm doing
yeah, it's
okay.
heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking
It
because these
is.
are your countrymen, dude. These are our people. And to see them just get crushed because the options seem so limited. And right, and here we are talking about how to not just people transitioning, but your citizenry, your countrymen. How do you get them better? How do you make
Mhm.
better Americans? There's a company called GoRuck, and I really like these guys. They've been great friends of mine for years. They don't care what your past is in your military history. They make packs, throw weight in it, go for a walk, stop being lazy. It's
Yeah.
just that simple. You don't even need our packs, our GoRuck packs. Go buy a pack. And I've just loved their philosophy of just move, keep moving, building better Americans. And there's something to be said about that. And it gets really, what do I want people to take away? Just go find your identity. What do you identify with? And I don't mean that in the, obviously from this audience isn't going to take it that way as in the gender bender stuff. I mean it more in the, you know who you are at your core. Go do the things that amplify that. Um, and if there's one thing for especially young soldiers, man, they get out, the whole world is theirs. This is crazy, right? This thing, they get to go party, they're free. Man, love one woman, read the gospel, lift weights. Those do those things. Do those things first. Love one woman, read the gospel, lift weights. So I don't know if any of this shit is valuable, man.
It's all valuable, man. It's all valuable. You know why? Because stories like yours and like mine serve as examples that it's not a linear path to where you want to go. You're going to have
No.
friction. You're going to have highs and lows, and you're going to make mistakes. And at the end of the day, it really is on you. Like, you control all of it. And I couldn't agree with you more, man. I say this all the time. You have to look in the fucking mirror and figure out, who are you? Who
100%.
are you?
Right.
And
And
more than surface level, more than, I'm rich, I'm a dad, and I'm a husband. Okay, but what is Rich passionate about? What gets Rich out of bed every morning? What keeps him at 51 years old wanting to stay fit and all of that, right? And you've done a really good job of identifying that. And I'm not saying that it's bad if your identity is being a dad, but there's so much more to you than that,
absolutely.
right?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing that I've learned from being from God is that we've taken these weird paths to get where we are. We all do, right? There's no manual, but in following Christ, I've learned that God draws straight with crooked lines. And when I look back at this straight line that I've this very linear timeline, it's all over the place, but it's very crystal clear and straight. And it's like, being able to give up some of the control in my own life and give up earthbound and man things to a higher power, to that higher power. It's been the best tool I could ever employ someone to try.
Man, I love it. Rich, thank you so much for being here, dude. Thanks for reaching out after more than a decade, man. It's so
Yeah.
great to get to reconnect with you and just chat with you and really chat about some heavy things and just kind of our own journeys. Please, I know you're not big on social media, but I know you can be found out there. I really hope a lot of people want to reach out to you and just get advice from somebody personally that I look up to, man. I think, I respect the hell out of you for joining the Army at 35. I respect all the kind words that you had to say about me. And I've got to be honest, man, like, the reason I do this is because of guys like you, guys that looked up to me, that saw the type of leader that I was, the guys like Breyer and Warner and some of the other guys, Williams, that still talk to me to this day, that still want something to do with me, that still seek guidance from me. It's why I do this, because it's like a gift that I have, and I'd be kind of wrong to ignore it. So really appreciate it, man. I just want people to be able to find you and reach out to you for advice if you're willing to give it or whatever.
Yeah, it's just Rich Spalla. It's Facebook or LinkedIn. I really don't use many other socials. For the businesses, we will. For the suppressor company, we will. But in the meantime, we're just kind of keep pushing pencil to paper on getting things moving on that end. But when it comes to our socials, I'm going to hire somebody more competent in that realm to take care of that stuff for me.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate your time, man. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Rich Spalla, ACO123. Man, thanks so much for being here, brother. And we'll see you guys next week with another great episode. Take care, everybody. That's our show, and I'm truly thankful you've joined us at The Strategic Veteran. If our conversation today sparked curiosity, or if you're ready to elevate your game, I'm here to help. Visit thestrategicveteran.com for exclusive show notes and resources, or to book a coaching session directly with me. Take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and share your review. Your support makes all the difference. For more insights and daily strategies, let's connect on LinkedIn and keep the conversation going. Remember, this isn't just a podcast, it's your strategic advantage in action. Until our next rendezvous, stay bold and continue the mission.